and remind people of what your... Well, good morning to you first.
Good morning.
Please, how are you?
I'm doing great.
Great. Nice to see you. Well, first, I want us to go back to what you said about the IMF agreement we've entered into. Where do you think this is taking us? Before we even move into the what we are going through, the routines that we are going through as part of the program, would it take us out of these difficulties? Because everybody thinking, one, you have prices going up, prices on the increase. In fact, at this point in time, if there was any way anybody can reduce the prices back to the levels they were post 2021, at least pre 2021, we'll be happy. Is that one of the things that will be attained? Where can it take us to?
Well, Sena, permit me to greet your listeners and viewers as well. And of course, the people of Odododiodio. Well, where is the IMF program taking us to? The IMF program is taking us nowhere. It is only restricting us from doing the things we do when we decide to be reckless and throw our hands in the air and assume that there is no tomorrow.
Okay.
What they are doing with us is basically to say that, look, get your acts together, stay within certain parameters, have enough in the near future to actually service whatever debt you have with us.
Okay.
That is all they are doing with us.
Oh, so these are debtors on our neck, ensuring that we are in a position to pay them back.
Absolutely. It is like you borrowed money from your neighbor, and your neighbor knows that you every evening you come back from work, the little you have on you go out to take a bottle of beer and all that, and you have failed to pay your neighbor when the debts, liabilities or obligations crystallized, and therefore your neighbor had to take extra actions and to restrict you from doing the things you used to do, so that you would have enough money to actually pay his loans.
Oh, so that's where we are. That's essentially what we are doing.
That's essentially what we are doing.
Will that ultimately then translate into improved conditions for the Ghanaian if they are able to force our government?
Well, what would
stop
have
the recklessness?
What would have improved the Ghanaian is when it's not just about restricting them from being reckless. It is about actually being very true to the fact that we have changed the structure of this economy.
Okay.
That has not happened.
Okay.
And it is not in sight.
Okay. But that's long term. Structural changes.
Well, it is no long term. You start now.
Okay.
Because structural changes will not come overnight. It takes a lot of time to do it. And sometimes when you do it in a go, you would have issues.
Okay.
And therefore you need to introduce the changes gradually and get the system to adjust to it. Comes with a lot of stimulations alongside, so that people can adjust to it. And then with time, it takes full effect. And then the benefits actually are enjoyed by all.
So what we need to do is to commit to long-term changes to the Ghanaian economy.
Absolutely.
Changes of the structure of the economy.
Absolutely.
If you've been a journalist for at least the greater part of a decade, that's something you have heard constantly. Is 10 years enough to have changed the structure of an economy?
There is no time that Ghana has attempted in the Fourth Republic to actually change the structure of the economy.
No time at all.
There is no time. And we must be truthful to ourselves if we want to develop ourselves and our financial systems out of where we find ourselves.
Okay.
Yes.
in order to do those changes, what do you need to do? If you have not seen, because everybody will say, for example, this government will also say, the fact that we are even trying to promote some level of industrialization with the one district, one factory, trying to grow the agric sector by doing the planting for food and jobs, among others, those are structural changes for them that will take time to materialize. But you're saying you don't see any of that.
No, I don't.
So what
see
needs to be
any
done?
of that. One is agric and food.
Agric and food. So why not planting for food and jobs?
Two is energy.
Okay. So agric, food,
Yes.
energy.
Energy.
Okay.
Three is education
Medication.
and labor.
Okay.
Four is capital.
Education and labor
Yes, employment, workforce.
and capital.
Yes. And capital.
I
is
realize you haven't mentioned industrialization.
no.
Okay, so first, let me start with agric and food. Planting for food and jobs. You said, are you dismissing that outright?
It is the most useless policy.
Planting
A
for
waste
food
of
and
time,
jobs.
a waste of resources.
Billions of Ghana cedis
Yes,
spent.
I mean,
We
I
have
would,
even launched the phase 2.
no, I would not, play with English and all that and say that it is this and it is that. It is a useless policy.
So what approach is better for you?
You know, you asked, I have not mentioned industrialization.
Okay.
The world's industrialization was anchored on agric.
Okay.
There is no real industrialization that's had survived on its own without agric being the backbone.
Okay.
In fact, everything we see around us, even in terms of the financials, what we do in terms of futures and all that, had come from agric.
Okay.
If you fail to get your agriculture right, you cannot industrialize.
Okay.
Now ask yourself, where are the inputs coming from? With all the industrialization we claim, is it to eat alone
Okay.
or to process and have the full potential of agric actually driven out of it? We must be specific with what we want. What is it that we want with planting for food? And the name suggests it. Now we want food, not industrialization.
But the jobs part can cater for the industrialization part.
No. Agric already employs a chunk of our workforce in this country. So what kind of employment do you seek by putting more people into agric?
Okay.
What capacity of workforce do you have? How educated are they to take on the program you had initiated? Where is the capital coming from? So you see, we are good at finding nice names for programs and policies, but the programs and policies are never deep.
Okay.
And does not make any economic sense. And that is why most of our programs, although we put in a lot of investment, still end up failing.
So you're suggesting that even with the, let's say, so from planting for food and jobs, another policy that comes by this one district, one factory, even with that one, the material is not coming from Ghana.
One district, one factory. Nice name.
Okay.
What are you industrializing?
Okay.
The excess food from agric? The excess crops from agric? What are you really trying to industrialize? You want to grow the flour industry, where is your source?
Okay.
You want to grow the oil industry, do you have excess palm? You want to grow the shoe factories, you are still importing leather. What exactly do you seek to industrialize?
Okay.
And without agric, industrialization is nothing. And we must have it clear. You cannot say that I will import everything, yet I am going to industrialize. It doesn't work that way. This is a country where you have arable lands to grow a lot of palm. You have failed in growing the palm. Again, this is a country with a lot of educated people who cannot actually drive out the full potential of palm.
Okay.
Oil, margarine, ice cream, butter, whatever. We have not even been successful with cassava.
Okay.
Obtaining flour from cassava, we have not been successful with that. Yet, you talk of industrialization. Where and which aspect did we target to provide a substitution to what we are actually importing?
So you don't see that targeting, that plan, that tells you that this is what we are doing, this is what we are industrializing, is we think that we can go a lot more of this, use it for this, in the end substitute this import that we realize is becoming a very big part of our importation bill.
Yes.
You're saying that
drying up
don't
your
see
reserves and all
like
that in terms of foreign currency. I don't see that. And that is why I always say that these policies were very useless.
Now that's Agrican food. So I'll take you to the next one. You said energy. Now, a few things have happened. In the Mills Mahama era, there was a lot of a shift towards, because we're having issues with drought and everything, there was a shift towards thermal energy. They realized they had an issue with fuel, so they bring on board the Tuabo gas treatment plant. Now, they inherited this kind of arrangement, and then they come and say that actually you've paid. And I recall you and Solo had a huge argument on Alaji and Alaji about the take or pay thing, and you said no. There's, from a financial position, there's no way you can sign any such agreement without putting in that clause. When you say energy, what do you mean? Are you saying we are not doing enough to be energy sufficient, or what is it?
Well, to industrialize as a country, you must have your energy requirement right.
Okay.
I mean, no doubt about that. If all we do is to consume energy for household,
okay,
and a large percentage of the consumption of energy is towards household, then of course we are failing in terms of energy.
Okay. So the question of who is using the energy.
Absolutely. Again, you can also not industrialize when the energy costs compared to others is out of range.
Okay.
You must have your energy costs within a certain range to be competitive. Now, if you look at Ghana and our energy policy and all that, it has taken the Ministry of Energy so long to actually implement the net metering.
Okay.
The question is why?
And the net metering, explain to us.
Well, if today, myself sitting here, I decided to buy or deploy a solar energy in my house, solar equipment in my house, and I'm able to generate electricity that I do not need at the moment of generation, I should be able to sell it to the national grid. And when I require energy, because there are times that you will not have the sun, and all that, so you will need the grid power. At that time, I would also have to buy energy from the national grid. There should be a net off with what I sell to them and what they actually provide to me as well. And that is the net metering. Government still is adamant in shifting towards that sector, because that is what will allow us to receive more capital inflow with regards to actually acquiring the solar systems. That is one thing which is actually hindering the renewable energy sector. Again, the other thing is that we are discouraging the production of solar panels in this country.
Discouraging the production of solar panels
in this country and encouraging the finished products coming in.
How are we doing that?
Okay, so today, if you, Sena, decided to bring in finished products, solar panels, to put up a solar system in your house, you would have paid no taxes.
Nothing at all?
You will be exempted. You will pay very little tax.
Okay. What happens
if I decide to bring the materials needed to build solar panels? The only item that I'm exempted from tax is the solar cells.
Solar cells?
Yes.
Aside that, you pay for everything.
The EVA films you will pay, the aluminium you will pay, the glass you will pay, everything which contributes almost 90% of building a solar panel is taxable.
Oh, okay.
Except the solar cells. And you know, technology evolves. Today, we don't use full cells. We are using half-cut cells and all that. Things are getting more, should I say, complicated, simpler. Things are getting more cheaper, and all that. Where we are driving towards is to have renewable energy with its initial acquisition being so cheap.
Okay.
So for a country that is making the acquisition of same very expensive, clearly it's not bent on industrialization.
So the focus should be on ensuring that it is cheaper to produce here.
Absolutely.
And that's not what we are saying.
No.
So it will be cheaper for me to buy an imported finished product than to perhaps come to someone who is producing in Ghana here and say, I'm buying your product.
Absolutely.
So is that not really the Ghanaian conundrum?
Well,
that everything in Ghana here is more expensive to produce?
Well, if that style actually brings you revenue, which is the case, and that is the lazy approach.
Okay.
That we have always been used to and comfortable with.
Tax as many things as you can.
Yes.
Especially local industry.
Absolutely.
Get money.
Get more money. And tell us all that you are embarking on structural reforms.
So that's the energy bit dealt with. Yeah. But within that bracket, you talk about the cost of energy. And is it to suggest that you think the best way is a shift towards the renewable?
Absolutely. Look, the next world will need energy.
Okay.
And to produce energy more efficiently and environmentally friendly.
Okay.
Energy. Look, it is getting more difficult producing energy through the fossil fuels and all that. With the climate change and all the issues bordering on climate change, the real focus now is on renewable energy.
Okay.
But we are not ready for it.
When you say we are not ready, is it that we are not putting ourselves in a position to be ready?
We are not putting ourselves in a position to attract investment in that direction. Our banks have a lot of renewable energy funds sitting with them, doing nothing. Because even our financial institutions like the banks don't understand the industry renewable energy. They want to give a renewable energy loan as if they are giving a trade loan.
What does that mean when you say as if they are giving a trade loan?
Absolutely. You see, when it comes to renewable energy, like I come to your house, I want you to put up a solar infrastructure. I would need your requirement. You use a fridge, a television, you might expand, you might get a freezer, you might get... So I look at your future requirement, and instead of saying that you need to go for maybe a 5 kilowatts per hour infrastructure, you would go for maybe 10. Now, it comes with a cost. So if you are going for a 10, all right, and that is going to cost you, for instance, $10,000, right? And I'm providing finance to you. You will be paying electricity to ECG, right?
Yes.
Okay. So if I would have to term the loan, I would have to term the loan not too far from what you would usually have paid to ECG.
Okay.
In terms of grade.
Okay.
And in there is the principal and the interest. But the person must be a bit comfortable with the repayment terms and the interest terms. You cannot charge 25%, 30%, 40% on renewable energy. But the thing and the click about it is that the terms sometimes are a bit longer.
Okay.
And therefore you are able to make your money over time. And the equipment, you the financier, remains in your name until the entire there are risks, of course, to the financial institutions as well, and therefore they would also want to put in a bit of premium to cover themselves. That is acceptable, but the conditions we have now in terms of financing, trade loans and all that, cannot just be lifted and be put on financing renewable energy. It doesn't work.
Which means that in order for any bank to be able to support solar at this time under the conditions you are saying, the bank must have some money from maybe the UN or some people, some cheap money.
They do.
They have some cheap money.
They do, but they want to make up normal profits.
Okay. So it's not as if they are putting up their own monies.
Absolutely.
Oh.
They have a lot of them have the green fund sitting with them.
And they want to make good profit on the green
And
fund.
they want to make good profit of it.
Better than good.
Better than good. Abnormal.
I see. That's an interesting situation. Yes. Anyway, that's energy. And I'm trying to go through everything because there are important things you said. Then there's education.
Yeah.
I think this government said that they spent more on their education budgets than any other government. Of course, their budget to be heavier, but they are also talking about in percentages term and everything. Their biggest investment has been on free SHS. Yes. Are you saying? Okay, so are you saying we even with that investment? You're saying is it not enough or it's not the right investment?
I am trying to use another word apart from useless.
Free SHS.
Very useless. You see, when I mentioned education, I spoke about the workforce or labor.
Okay.
The Canadians have a very high educated workforce.
Okay.
You know, the Chinese do not have highly educated workforce.
Okay.
But the productivity of the Chinese workforce is higher than that of the Canadian workforce.
Even though Canada has much more highly educated workforce than China.
Exactly.
Okay.
When it comes to education, culture is a major part of it.
Okay.
And work, culture is part of it. You have the Chinese with a certain culture when it comes to work. Okay. And therefore they are ready to work. They don't give excuses. They don't get sick by word of mouth, and they work themselves out. They work for longer hours, and they are prepared to go the extra mile. They are prepared to use certain tools that are not too sophisticated to work and produce highly sophisticated products and all that. Now, we will have to ask ourselves where we are. And where we are is simple. We are in an environment where we do not have the capital to employ the machinery and equipment that we need for production.
Okay.
We are in the position where we have less factories producing our needs. So, and we are in a position where we say, let's industrialize.
Okay.
What it means is that we would need a lot of factory hands.
Okay.
Well, anyone who gets to the university level certainly will not accept to be a factory hand.
For example, asking Senate to remove the small jacket.
Yes, and go and be mixing paints and or frying roasting how do you say call it, peanuts and all that. You know, it would take something extra for you to agree to do that. And we don't have that capital. We don't have that financial muscle as well in terms of our factories.
Okay.
So when you say, let me pump money into education at the level of senior high school, which do not niche out any of the students to be prepared for the work the factories have, or your agri sector had, whatever it is. The issue is there must be a correlation to the people you are educating with your requirements as a nation.
Okay.
Now, where we have put a chunk of the investment with education has no correlation to our needs.
Okay.
So I will ask, what did we really wanted to achieve with the free SHS?
A highly educated workforce.
A highly educated workforce.
That's according to the president.
Not prepared to be in the factories that you claim you want to put up in terms of one district, one factory.
Okay.
Whereas, as we speak today, we are importing artisans from Togo. Because Togo has managed to build a strong TVET educational system. Here, the TVET is more for rejected students.
Yeah. If you're in TVET, it means that you couldn't pass your exams.
It means you couldn't pass your exams. We have not actually made it a point to grow the TVET sector of our education to meet our requirement as a nation. So today I want some plastering and I want to go for a Togo mason because they do it better. And I will leave the Ghanaian mason unemployed. It takes the cedis, change it into CFA, and goes back to Togo. That is what we have achieved with this policy of free SHS. So, for me, that wants a nation, or that wants this nation to change structurally. If I had put that money in the TVET sector, in educating more of our people to actually understand agric, manage the implements of agric and all that, I think we will be better off.
So a focus more on TVET.
Absolutely.
Technical vocational education.
Yes, let it be a main path.
Okay.
You know, look, you sit here today. When I mention welding, what's the picture that comes in mind? The dirty welder by the roadside, welding all sorts of things and all that. Today, that has shifted. Most of the premium furnitures you have today are almost 60% metalworks.
Okay.
And a little woodwork. And they are selling for $3,000, $2,000. Almost all imported. So today, you have a metal frame that stands and a polished wood on top of it as your dining table. And people are shifting tastes towards that. Yet, we have not realized that a chunk of furniture coming in from Turkey and other places are more of metalworks. Most of the furnitures you go and buy,
very expensive.
Very expensively, right, are coming from sawdust and cardboard. Most of the doors today you see, they look so beautiful. They're actually made of cards.
See.
And so, what do you really want to target in terms of structural changes? Is it how we collect revenues we term as structural changes? Or actually changing and shifting appetite from what we're importing and growing it locally here or manufacturing it here? What do we really want? What do we really term as structural changes?
I see. Then the final one is, I think, do you say capital?
Yeah.
When you say capital, I'm talking about cash, eh?
Yeah.
Movement of money.
L'argent.
Like the one we are trying to get from the IMF. Okay. So what's the problem with money? Is it that we don't have it?
Well, money flows to where you cannot have all the money for yourself.
Okay.
That is what Addison attempted to do by providing all the money we needed.
Okay.
And he crashed the economy and claimed to have saved what he crashed.
Addison was the one who crashed the economy.
Of course.
Okay, we'll come to that. First deal with the capital.
Well, we have what we term as arbitrage in terms of today. If I'm in Ghana or I'm in the US, I want to come and invest in an African country here, or take advantage of something that is unique with Ghana to actually effect production and receive good gratification for what I wanted to do. Every businessman would put money where he can actually make money. So I want to invest into the flour business. And I look at the cost of producing flour in Ghana as against the cost of producing flour in Ivory Coast. And Ivory Coast, it will cost me 9 cents a kilo.
Okay.
And in Ghana, it's going to cost me 15 cents a kilo to produce. I will go to Ivory Coast.
And save $6.
And save $6.
Oh, okay.
So every country is in competition with the other. We are in competition with Togo, we are in competition with Burkina Faso, we are in competition with Ivory Coast. The thing that makes us a bit superior than these other countries is the fact that we have enjoyed some stability.
Relative
stability over the period, as opposed to most of these West African countries surrounding us, and that is the only thing. But when it comes to a place like Ivory Coast, it is cheaper to produce in Ivory Coast because if you are in the northern part, you pay 50% of your utilities.
Okay.
50%. Only 50% of your utilities. They have given a huge concession on that. So if
you're a factory set up in the northern part of Ivory Coast, you are paying 50% less than those in the south.
In the south.
Oh, okay.
So I'm better off in Ivory Coast than being in Ghana. Now, if you can't get that competition right, you will lose capital. Again, if you cannot manage your financial system rightly, like we have done, capital will move away from you. When investors have no confidence in the managers of the economy, no matter how you put it up together, they have lost confidence in the managers and they will not put money in. And that's what we are suffering now.
Okay.
Around 2021, 2022, we rake in a lot of remittance. And in fact, we have projected of receiving remittance from Ghanaians outside to the tune of about 5 billion. Which today, I can tell you it is highly impossible to achieve.
5 billion cedis or
$5 billion.
Okay.
In terms of remittance.
Okay.
Which I don't see how we can achieve that today. Long and short of it is that if your financial environment is not something that can be trusted by by our investors, capital will move away from you. And that's the situation we find ourselves in. Being disciplined and not being reckless is not really about Ghanaians alone.
Okay.
But it is also about attracting capital to Ghana. And if we have to develop, we have to be a country that attracts capital. And the capital end up in production as equity, which is also a liability. But we don't get to pay interest on that. Our government is in a craze, they love to pay the interest and to have the money in their hands and to control and direct the flow of capital. And so most times they don't care about that side of the equation. What they care most about is how much we are able to borrow, because we will leave it for somebody to pay. Any country that does not attract capital will fail, no matter how well they plan out their system. So China is always chasing capital, even with their huge industrialization base. That is why China would not let go of certain countries like Hong Kong and all that, because these have been turned into a financial hub where capital is actually pulled from the rest of the world
To them.
and are directed to the mainland China.
Okay. So you need to put yourself in a position to attract money
Absolutely.
from wherever it is.
Absolutely.
Okay. So the person carrying money has to feel comfortable enough to carry money into your country and say, I'm putting my money in here.
Yeah.
We are not in that situation.
No.
Not
Far
at
from that.
I see. Okay. We have 9 more minutes to go. I wish we could have continued this conversation. I'll bring you back because this morning, you said later in the afternoon you are filing?
Yes.
Okay. Ni wants to replace Ni. Okay. So somehow Ni wants to replace Ni. So this is Ni YARBOI and wants to replace Ni Lante van der Poy as member of parliament for
Yes.
Odododiodio. Okay. So that'll be interesting. Ni replaces Ni. Well, so but I wanted to, because I saw you and I saw the videos of you going to participate in the Occupy BOG demonstration. You said the governor of the Bank of Ghana is the one who collapsed this economy.
Yeah.
How? Because if I've read through his statements over and over again, and he is the one who is saying that I was trying to save what was coming down, that I printed those monies to save what was crashing.
I've tried to put a little article together.
Okay.
I'll leave it with you
Okay.
for, and I'm doing it only because of Radio Gold. I'll leave it with you for you guys to publish. Look, in this article, you would see clearly how reckless Dr. Addison was, or have been. Broad money always moves with inflation.
Okay.
And I have made a case in there that persistent inflation has never occurred because of transitory challenges we have had. There will always be wars.
Okay.
And they will cause inflation.
Okay.
There will always be pandemic. They will cause some sort of inflation. There will always be some disruptions like earthquake and all that. They will cause inflation. But those are all transitory in nature, and the only thing they can do is to cause transitory inflation.
So the inflation does not last. It's not
It
persistent.
doesn't last.
Okay.
Now, when you see a persistent inflation like we have witnessed, right from 2022 till now, then you must second guess and look at it well. I don't know if you remember, in these very studios, I did say that Parliament, for me, failed to look at BOG and its activities closely. And that is somewhere in 2021. I said that, look, the Bank of Ghana has been left on their own to do all manner of things. I mean, and when the budget is read, just a little portion is dedicated to them. All they tell us is their target in terms of monetary policy rates and blah, 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 how they want to close the year and all that. When in fact, they are the main causes of inflation. Look, broad money had increased in 2020 to about 35%. 2 years on, inflation hits 54%.
So money circulation increased by 35%.
Yes. These are figures from BOG.
Okay.
And I will be fair to the current governor. It has happened before. It happened under President Mahama in 2014.
Okay.
and it increased to about 33%. And subsequently, in 2014-15, it was slowed till 2016. 2 years on, similar to this situation, inflation had peaked at 17.5%.
Okay.
In 2016, the issue is why in one scenario, under President Mahama, inflation peaked at 17%. And in the similar fashion, same results in terms of money supply going up by around 30%. What happened? Boom, 54% inflation.
Because you're talking about the difference between the money supply increase that you're talking about under Mahama and then under President Akufo-Addo.
Only 2%.
2%, yeah. So how come inflation is at 17 for former President Mahama? And
that is the question we need to ask. You see, the call for Addison to leave that office, it is not out of hatred or from a void standpoint. It is backed by data that he has been the most reckless, and in the history of this country, he would once upon a time we would say that he is the most useless governor to have filed the seat of the governor.
Reckless abuse useless.
Yes. Look, Sena, again, I will have you look at the foreign exchange deposit effect on the foreign currencies in terms of the rates.
Okay.
When the foreign currency deposits shot up, the rates also went up in a similar fashion.
What do you mean when you say foreign currency deposits?
Right. So you have dollars, I have dollars, or I purchase dollars, I take it to the bank, we all put our money in the bank, whatever. So we deposit foreign currencies in our banks.
Okay.
Whatever we have in the banks, when they grow, naturally, it means that people have received more dollars.
Okay.
Based on production or some service they have provided.
Okay.
Offshore. And that is why they have received foreign currencies for it. So in the manner that I see foreign currencies shooting up from the same period, from December 2021, it means that I have received more money from offshore, isn't it?
Yes.
Production has gone up.
Yeah.
We have provided more services. Ghana is receiving more license payments from outside users of whatever we are providing.
Yeah.
But that is not the case. Because if that is the case, then what should have happened is that the rates should have gone down.
Not go up.
Not go
because
up.
there will be more dollars in the system.
Because there will be more dollars available in the system. What went up rather is the rate. It is the rate because when you look at the M2 plus movement, and you can have a look at this. And you would have realized the movement. But if you watch critically, from 2021, the gap between the two lines are very close to each other.
Okay.
Sorry. But you would realize that the gaps have opened.
Yes. Wider.
That opening is the lack of confidence that participants and investors had for the local currency, the national currency.
I see. So people prefer to keep their dollars.
Yes. And it went up from less than 1%, shot up to about 28% lack of confidence in the national currency.
This is a discussion we need to have in a bit more detail. Like I said, we'll bring me back to talk about two things. First, this article that you've written about the Bank of Ghana, and then we'll spend time talking about your aspirations in Odododiodio.
Sure.
Today at 3 p.m.?
Yes,
Or earlier?
I am filing at 3 p.m.
So at 3 p.m. you'll be filing your
Sure.
nomination.
Sure.
Okay, so you're Ni's contesting in the NDC primaries.
Yeah.
To be the parliamentary candidate of the NDC for Odododiodio.
Mashallah.
Mashallah. Your confidence level is high.
Very high.
Yes. So when he files, he'll come back. We'll have a conversation
Sure.
on why you believe you should replace Ni.
Well,
Yeah. Why you think it's a Ni for Ni.
well, yes.
Always wonderful to have you in studio.
Right. Thanks so much.
Thank you very
for
much
having me.
Yeah.
Right.
So that's YARBOI ANNAN. YARBOI ANNAN now. So maybe the next time he's in studio, we're talking about aspirants for parliamentary candidate of the NDC in Odododiodio. Thank you.
Thank you.